Thank you. Thanks for that update. I really don't want to dwell on the timescale issue too much. I appreciate that weather plays such an important part in something of this scale and size, but I just feel that there's an overarching feeling amongst us that for a 1.3 billion project to say that, well, it really all just comes down to the weather just feels quite loose. Is it the case that we should be assuming the worst and then being pleasantly surprised rather than hoping for the best, which I get the feeling we're doing at the moment?
No, I certainly wouldn't characterise it as hoping for the best. I think we have a realistic programme from the contractor that has been analysed in great detail. I mean, obviously, we were as concerned as everyone was when the date had to change. Now, if you change a date, you want to make sure that you're changing it to something that's realistic and is achievable. I think I can say from a personal, it was quite a painful process going through the change in the date, and rightly so, because if you are going to change a date on something as fundamental as this, you ought to be absolutely certain that you're changing it on the best data you can possibly have. We've now got 4.5 years of extremely good data of exactly what we've experienced in this location doing this type of work. So I think we've taken into account everything we possibly can take into account in terms of what can be done going forward. In terms of guaranteeing it, no, we cannot guarantee it. But by the same token, we're not saying this is absolutely the best we can do either. I think it's a realistic date going forward. The contractor has looked at it in great detail, and it's the right way to go forward.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to just have a brief question to you on health and safety on site. I was wondering if you could update us on progress of investigations into the tragedy of early in the year, and also just in general an assessment of health and safety and any changes or developments that have happened since then.
Certainly. Obviously, the tragic fatal accident in April was a great shock to the project and a great setback to us all. It was one thing we were focused on. We wanted to have a very safe project with nobody being killed on the project. That was absolutely our fundamental requirement. What has happened since then is the Health and Safety Executive are still investigating. These things do tend to be fairly drawn out, in that they want to talk to everybody who is in the vicinity at the time, make sure they have got all the information they can possibly gather. Even though the investigation is ongoing, I think what is important to emphasise is that in the very early stages, the first thing they focus on are there some fundamental flaws in the health and safety culture or health and safety management or health and safety processes on the site. Because if there are, then they would put measures into place very quickly to make sure that those were dealt with. And that could be something such as a prohibition order, a stop work order, or something like that. That did not happen on this job. They came in, they looked at the procedures, the management, the processes, and were satisfied that they were all correct and were all in place. Regrettably, even with all those things in place, tragic accidents can still happen. There's always a human element. But obviously, I can't speculate on the final outcome of the health and safety investigation. But I suppose the most troubling part of it, in terms of my view of it and the FCBC project director's view of it, was we take on so many big risks and big challenges in doing a job of this size. And those are all deeply analysed, a lot of preparation and work goes into them to make sure that nothing like this can happen. And that's a real focus. The activity that was going on where the fatality occurred, it was a routine bit of maintenance on a bit of plant that could have been in use on any construction site around the UK. And that was, I think, the biggest frustration to us, that it wasn't a big thing that was directly related to the construction. And regrettably, within our industry, that is very often the case, that it's the everyday, mundane things that come and bite you. And that's deeply regrettable, I think, to our whole industry, but something we're very conscious of. In terms of has anything specifically changed, no, it hasn't, because of the issues, because of the points I've raised. There's nothing fundamentally identified as being wrong. Obviously, we do look very hard at all our activities all the time, and we'll continue to do so. But Michael Martin, the project director, is very clear about it. Safety is his #1 priority. He reinforces that to every new starter on the project and to every activity that we do. And that will continue to be the case until we finish. And obviously, we have to be very, very careful about complacency or getting close to the end and people taking their eye off the ball. That's extremely important.